Hello and welcome to the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. I'm a playwright, screenwriter and podcaster from South Wales, and seeing as March is Cerebral Palsy Awareness Month, to mark it, I've decided to interview interesting people who have cerebral palsy from Wales and beyond every day in March. If you like this episode, please stay tuned for more throughout the month and like and share. Now enjoy this episode of the Palsy Podcast. Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. There's a bit of a pilot, so we're gonna see how it goes. My guest today, my guinea pig for the first episode, is Tia Chapman, who's an actor who's got CP. That's why she's on this podcast, and we're trying to, I guess, raise awareness of living with cerebral palsy over the course of the month of March. Hiya, Tia. Thanks for being my guinea pig
No
today.
problem, Kieran. Always happy to be a guinea pig.
And I guess maybe we should start by explaining what cerebral palsy is. For people who don't know, it's a brain injury caused either before or slightly after or during birth, and it affects people in very different ways. So I'm going to talk to a variety of people every day from the next month. Do you think that's too much of an ask to do this every day in March? Yeah.
I don't think so. I mean, it depends how long the episodes are. You just got to be careful, like some bits of content are repeated, but
Yeah. Um, so yeah, thanks for doing it. Tia, the first, we're gonna kick off. I'll ask you, what was it like growing up with CP, and was there a moment where you kind of realized that you were maybe a little bit different?
I think growing up with CP was pretty normal for me. Um, I just think that there wasn't really much difference because obviously my parents tried to keep it as normal as possible. And I obviously went to a mainstream school, which I think probably helped my experience a lot. Because if I hadn't have gone to mainstream, probably it would have looked a little bit different. But I'm glad that they made the decision to let me go to mainstream, which meant that kind of my school experience was pretty normal. So yeah, I think my friends and everything kind of didn't see it as any different, and I think probably the only time I really saw a difference was maybe like getting into like the first year of secondary
Mm.
when there's parties and things going on where then that became a bit more difficult.
Did your parents have to fight to get you into a mainstream school?
I don't think so. I think there was obviously like a difference in kind of options because especially with secondary, we just had to make sure everything was accessible. But primary
Mm.
school, as long as like they had a lift, which my primary school already did, I'm pretty sure. So that was all sorted and it was all flat, so we were all good. And they were really helpful. So
I mean, that shows the difference of how far we've come in 10 years, because I'm 10 years older than you.
yeah.
My parents really had to battle to get that access to mainstream education. So I guess it's good in a way that things have changed.
Yeah. I
Just,
mean, obviously like I was like young, so I mean I probably don't remember.
mm,
As far as I know, it obviously wouldn't have been as straightforward as an able-bodied person, but I'm a twin and my twin brother is able-bodied. So it's kind of a situation where I was going to go where he went because they didn't want to split us up.
what was that like growing up? Because obviously you must have seen him doing stuff possibly
I mean,
before you. I don't know if
yeah,
you
I mean, I
remember.
definitely think that it made a massive difference that he's a boy and I'm a girl because I think if we were two girls, I think it would have been a whole different experience because I would have seen like a sister doing exactly what I wanted to do. But because obviously like I had a brother and they just like computer games and staying in, it's all good.
Do you think you were treated differently, maybe more so because of you were a boy and a girl, rather than you had CP and your brother
I
doesn't?
think. I think obviously there comes differences with that anyway, because he's my brother and he's a boy and I'm a girl. So obviously there's going to be like a difference
Yeah.
of opinions and rules and different things. But I don't think until we were older, I don't think it became an issue until the disability the disability rules and the you're a girl and he's a boy rules started to intertwine with each other, and then
Mm.
and that's where it becomes an issue. But for the most part, I don't think I had anything major other than like normal teenage bickers, to be honest.
And like, I don't know if this is a weird question, but something I experienced. Was there a moment where like you realized that you were disabled? The moment that you realized, oh, I have got CP, I am a bit different
Um,
to other people.
I think, to be honest, like if I'm really honest, I think I'm quite like desensitized to it. I don't think I probably realize as much as I should that things are a bit different. I have to go around things like a different way. I think it wasn't really until like secondary, and there was obviously like when you have all them like the first parties in secondary, like people's 13th birthdays and house parties and
Mm,
stuff like that. Um, and then obviously, like, my parents started being a little bit more overprotective and started asking more questions as to whether, a friend's house has got stairs or a friend's house is accessible, because obviously you're making so many new friends in secondary. And the whole of primary school, you kind of go through this route where your parents know everyone's parents, because I was in a really small primary school. Um,
right,
so my class that I was in, there was only 16 of us.
right. And then go into this big
Yeah, so I
secondary
think
school.
So I definitely think with my parents knowing everyone's parents and like all the kids that I was with all the time, even if there was like an inaccessible party, it could have almost been like talked over with my parents before the option was kind of given to me. With secondary, obviously, when that isn't an option, and I'm coming home with a friend saying, um, I don't know, there's like a friend's birthday and my mum doesn't know the friend or it hasn't been
Yeah.
discussed, I kind of then it would kind of raise more issues.
And like, did you have to miss a lot of school because of like physio or therapy, or like, was that frustrating? Was that a thing for you?
I think in primary, I definitely had a lot more physio than I did um, in comprehensive, because I think in comprehensive it was more I wanted to focus on school. So I think the kind of physio and everything took a back burner, because I think when you're younger, I don't know if this experience was the same for you, but especially when you're younger, it's a lot more like easy to get a young child to do physio than it is
Mm,
someone that's
yeah,
older. So, I mean, for my lunch breaks in primary school, I was doing physio every lunch, every
yeah,
day.
same.
And then because my friends would love it, my friends would want to stay in with me on a lunch break to come help me do physio. And be in my standing frame, which they called a torture chamber.
Oh yeah, I remember. Oh, God.
Yeah, I
I
definitely have
remember.
fond memories.
I remember having like a trike in school,
Yeah,
but they wouldn't allow me to ride it out on the yard during break time.
yeah,
They
that's what
think,
I used for my cycling proficiency in year 6.
"Oh, you managed it." They wouldn't let me do that. They didn't think
Yeah,
much
that
of.
was a bit of a struggle, but they let me do it, yeah.
I don't know whether that was because of my CP or whether it was because I'm a liability on the roads. I'm learning that through learning to drive at the moment. It's not going well.
It's
Um,
yeah, that's another struggle that is just endless.
maybe we'll talk about that later on this episode.
Yeah.
But like, when did like acting and performing come about? How did you first get interested in that?
I think acting and performing kind of came about like properly when we were kind of offered, because our comprehensive did it a bit different. So our comprehensive offered us options in year 9, not year 10. So what we could
Right.
do is we could do 5 options in year 9 and then drop down to 3 for year 10 for our GCSEs. So we basically had like an extra year of trial options. So for that extra year, I did drama and performing arts. So I basically just like loved it so I did BTech performing arts and I did drama GCSE.
Oh, okay. So for people who don't know, what's the kind of difference? What was the difference between those two subjects?
So drama GCSE was more written, and kind of more exploring certain works from different practitioners. And then BTEC is more physical, but then you have to do like write-ups along the way about what you've done and what you've explored.
And was that all like accessible to you?
Um, I think that was probably the hardest part, I'd say, is doing a subject which is so physical, um, and trying to be marked the same as my peers was
Mm.
probably the biggest issue because obviously you know that teachers have to be fair, um, but obviously there's some sort of grey area because there's fair and there's what they think they should do, and there's a bit of a grey area.
But obviously, I did a BTEC level 3 performing arts in
Yeah.
college and having to do the dance modules.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm going to talk about next. Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one because obviously the element of BTEC, it how you get marked is obviously you write up what
mm,
you've done, and obviously that was all fine. But obviously with a BTEC, the write up is obviously worth less marks than the physical.
yes, it's secondary to
Um,
yeah.
but it's very secondary, which I was finding out more and more as I was doing it. So no matter how much hours I would put into my write-up, sometimes it still wouldn't be enough to push my dance grade
Mm.
up, which would then in turn, because the way a BTEC is marked between all the different sections, would then bring my overall grade down because of that one element.
I mean, do you think there needs to be a change in the way that the BTECs are assessed? And is there a way that it can be tailored to people with physical
I I
disabilities?
definitely think so. I did it for GCSE and I did it for A level.
Mm.
Now, A level was where I struggled because GCSE, I don't know whether this is right for me to say, but GCSE, my teachers weren't sure whether I was going to continue it on. They all knew I loved it, but it wasn't like a forefront in their mind. It wasn't until I got to A level.
And
Um,
and and were you like, oh, this is what I want to do. I want to be an actor.
yeah,
I want to be a
by
performer.
the beginning of GCSE, I knew that was it. Like
Right.
that's where I was going. Because obviously I picked both. I picked drama and I picked performing arts. So in my GCSE years and my A level, I ended up having the same teacher for more than like 18 hours a week. It was intense. But
Mm.
I think once we got to A level, we started to really think because obviously your A level grades then affect your university applications.
Yeah.
We all started to panic a little bit because we were like, this isn't just going to affect her GCSE grade, it's going to now affect the A level grade, which then will affect my future.
Mm.
Um, so I think there definitely should be some sort of like physical disability like clause almost, like some sort of
Mm.
alternative. Because if you think about it, BTEC's quite alternative in the way that they let you record your write-ups, or
Written assessments. Yeah.
they'll let
Yeah.
you video them or record them for people that struggle.
Mm.
But then I find it weird that there's no physical alternative if you can't do something in the module.
I agree. I went through a similar thing during my BTEC level 3 in this college. Luckily, it was only one dance module.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'd be pretty simple for the education authorities to bring in um an alternative. And did you think about going to uni or drama school after college?
Yeah. So um I I won't name any drama schools, but I ended up going to look round quite a good few because I emailed and asked for tours with my parents
Yeah.
to be able to go around and check access. Um, Looking back on it, I was probably quite naive to how difficult that was going to be. Um, Not just within a course perspective, but within an access perspective. No matter what any of them would have said, it still would have been ridiculously difficult because obviously I'm a manual wheelchair user and that wasn't going to change. So
Oh.
obviously like pavement and accommodation and they would try their best, but obviously I couldn't. It was a bit of a sticky situation because obviously I wanted to go and I still auditioned, but I think a lot of it was to do with access in the end.
Were they quite old buildings as well?
A lot of them were quite, yeah, a lot of them were quite old buildings, listed buildings. Yeah, all buildings, listed buildings. Reasons to why they couldn't change certain things. For example, there was certain flooring in certain drama uni um, rooms and things that my chair wouldn't be able to push on properly. Um,
All right,
obviously,
yeah.
which wouldn't be able to be changed because it's the flooring of a room. And then also, I think what the other thing I found quite interestingly difficult was if the drama school was okay and the uni was fine, or wherever I was looking was fine, well, not fine, but better than
Yeah,
expected, then it was a toss up between the pathway to the accommodation or the accommodation itself then not being good. So I couldn't, it was like an either or situation.
and how did you feel in yourself about the prospect of like living independently for the first time?
I was quite excited because obviously I've obviously lived at home with my mum, my dad, and my brother
Mm.
since birth. So I was really excited at the kind of prospect of moving out, much to my parents' dismay. But Jack was obviously my brother, was obviously looking at going to uni as well, and he was also looking to go kind of London way for university.
Right.
So we were kind of planning to kind of not go together, but we were kind of as a family geared up that me and him were both going to go in that direction, although that didn't quite happen.
And like, do you think you'll go back to maybe train or do actor training at some point?
I don't think so now because I'm lucky enough to have the experience that I've had.
Mm.
Although I don't know if my opinion would be different given I hadn't had the experience in these last 3 years that I have.
Let's talk about that then. So what was your first professional job and how did that come about?
I can't think of my first professional job to be honest. I'm trying to think what would be classed as first. Um, I think obviously like the big one coming out of sixth form would obviously be Fireman Sam.
Yeah, how did that come about? Fireman Sam.
That was just that was quite interesting actually because I often tell this story a lot where my audition process for Fireman Sam was literally in the same week as my last uni exam and the week that everyone was getting their decisions for uni.
Oh, good, that must have been intense.
So I'd submitted my self-tape audition. Obviously thought nothing of it, was way too focused on uni because I thought that's where I was going. And um
So,
did
so for people who don't know, like a self-tape is when you record
record and send
yourself
it, yeah.
at home.
Which
Uh,
is like what they do more of since COVID, yeah.
yeah. So you recorded your self-tape.
Yeah, so I recorded my self-tape after school one day. After like I think it was after like a big exam. I was absolutely exhausted and I'd filmed the self-tape and sent that in, thought nothing of it. Um and then I think about 2 or 3 weeks later, I had the second audition, which was definitely more intense because that was about an hour long on
Wow.
Zoom, kind of doing like different voices and trying to figure out like reading off a script and doing different voices. And then after that I kind of just not forgot about it, but just put it to the back of my mind while I was getting my like uni life sorted while I was dreaming of going to drama school. And then I quite quickly realized that that wasn't going to be a possibility. And all of a sudden, Fireman Sam showed up.
And like how what it's an animated show, quite
Yeah.
really well established animated show. What's that process like of acting for animation rather than? acting on screen in a non-animated
I mean,
thing?
I think it's really fun. I mean, I absolutely love doing it. It's one, it's such a cool job to have. Two, I used to watch it when I was younger, so I was like really happy to get the job. I was like, yes. And three, obviously, like my character Hannah in it, for people that don't know, she's also disabled. Um, so she's a wheelchair user. So it was quite kind of fun to know that there was going to be like a disabled voiceover
Hmm.
artist voicing someone like disabled, even as a cartoon. I just thought that was kind of like a nice touch from the team.
And were you able to advise a little bit if maybe they wanted advice on is this right in terms of representation?
I didn't advise on what kind of Hannah looked like because there was another voice actor doing her before me. Although
Okay.
she did have a redesign between when those characters swapped.
Oh, yeah, oh, okay. And obviously, Fireman Sam, it goes out in English, but they'll record it in Welsh. Did you record the Welsh version
No, I
for
did not record the Welsh version. My Welsh is not strong enough for that.
that? Um,
Not good.
and you've also been involved in some projects that our friend Rhys Miles Thomas has done. How did you meet Rhys? And let's talk about Flying Without Wings first, and then we'll go to
Yeah.
the short film.
So Rhys loves reminding me of this story. I met Rhys at the It's My Shout Awards, um, because we had both gone to sit in the disabled section, because for people that don't know, Rhys is also a wheelchair user. Um,
Unfortunately, he doesn't have CP, so he's not eligible for this podcast. Sorry. Anyway, go
um,
on.
So we'd both gone to. He will have different of opinions of this story, by the way. A lot of difference. But this is how I remember it, Reese, if you're watching. Um, so we both went to sit in the disabled section, and I had seen him in the corner there, and he'd gone to me and said, "There's a seat next to me." And unbeknownst to me, he was then already, I think he already had in his head the idea for A Not So Silent Night, which he directed. But I completely ignored him. Like, I completely blanked him. I probably gave him like an evil stare by accident. Uh,
Why?
I have no idea. I just think I was too busy looking at something, or because we were trying to watch the awards, I just kind of
Mm.
moved seats. And then I think he'd seen me um in my chair and already thought about the part that he was going to cast for A Not So Silent Night, but didn't think anything of it. And then when he auditioned and I came up, he was like, "Oh, it's you." I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." He was like, "You do know that you completely ignored me, don't you?" I'm like, "By accident, yeah."
I'll have to talk to Lisa about this to find out what it was actually.
Yeah.
And what was the film about? What part did you play?
So A Not So Silent Night was about a family, and the two girls had just lost their mother, and it was kind of a camaraderie um camaraderie Christmas. It's my shout short film about family and like grief.
Was the character necessarily written as disabled?
Um, I am not 100% sure, but I don't think so. Because and then obviously Reese then asked if I wanted to be in my wheelchair or just have my wheelchair somewhere.
Hmm.
And then we decided that I would stay on the sofa in the film for the duration, and then we'd have my wheelchair in shot, and then there was one shot where I transfer it.
And like, what response did the film get?
Yeah, I think it got a really good response. Obviously, it's an It's My Shout film, and we love It's My Shout. So, It's My Shout obviously always do really good shorts and show really good representation for all different things. So, I am really fond of them as a company.
And like in terms of representation in the industry, what do you think the state of that is at the moment? And where do you think there's kind of more to go?
I think, I mean, I kind of might have a controversial opinion. Ooh,
Go
but
on, it's the first
I,
episode. Let's get
yeah,
some tips.
well, no, I think that obviously I am all for representation in the industry because it's why I do it. It's my job. But I think there's a fine line between representation with intention and representation for a tick box.
Yeah. So can you unpack a little bit more what you mean by that?
I think without saying too much, I think there's definitely a rise in some productions, like bigger productions, um, adding in characters that have a disability, um, to I don't know, to tick a box rather than, or at least I think so, rather than show the intention was before this kind of became like a trend sort of thing.
Like, do you ever feel that you've got auditions or jobs because you're disabled rather than because
No, I
'cause
don't.
I wouldn't want you ever anyone to think
Not
that really.
intentionally. I think it was different, kind of maybe my opinion was different in school because
Mm,
obviously I think the idea of the whole thing, I think maybe like you'll know as well what I mean, like of the idea of you getting things because you're disabled is always there. Like
yeah,
it is always on your mind. So you're never gonna know the truth, really. You're never gonna know whether you got, I don't know. You're never gonna know whether you got something specifically because you're disabled or specifically because you're not. But that's not in acting, that's just in general.
it comes from like I don't know, imposter syndrome maybe is more when you're
I
disabled.
think
Just
I think acting wise, I've never thought that because I love doing what I do. So I'm
mm,
appreciative for my job and my agency, and because obviously their whole job is to um include and like representation throughout
yeah.
loads of disabilities and things. But I think in general, like in life, um, it's kind of you're never gonna fully know, especially when you're the person that's disabled. I think it's always gonna stay with you no matter what. So no matter what someone says, you've always got that in the back of your head anyway.
I guess you've got to try and ignore that and just think
Yeah.
I'm here because I deserve to be here.
Yeah,
Um,
especially with things like Fireman Sam. Like I know, obviously, I know that wasn't the main point. I mean, obviously, she's disabled
mm,
in the show, and I'm disabled. But obviously, I know they wouldn't have given me the job if I wasn't right for the job. So obviously, there's an element of that as well.
yeah, absolutely. And you've got to be proud of yourself for what you've done and what you've
Yeah,
achieved.
yeah.
What's next, do you think? What are your goals? What do you want to do next? What would be your
I mean,
dream job?
my goal would be to land a big job, but like big acting job, and obviously have representation at the forefront. Um, but also like kind of give off like main character energy. Like I don't think you see many disabled leads in things.
No, I agree.
Which is kind of like one of my other points about you see disabled characters, but not disabled leads as if they weren't thought of first.
And that's something that I try and address in my writing. And I
Yeah,
think we need more disabled writers to be writing stuff that gets produced on TV and on
yeah.
screen. Would you ever think, do you write? Would you ever consider writing stuff?
Yeah, I mean I have wrote. And I think that obviously I don't know, shall we shock Ciaran now? I wrote a book. But besides the point.
Why wasn't that in my notes? Like, tell me
Yeah.
about this. Tell
Um
me about this.
moving swiftly on. No, I will tell you about it. Yeah, but I did write a book about inclusion and drama school and things growing up.
Mm.
Um, although, yeah, so I think yeah, I think it is definitely something that would benefit from being addressed more in people's writing is being like a lead in shows.
Have you thought about adapting that book for TV or film?
I don't know. I think it's quite close to home to the point where if I
Mm.
did, I think I'd just be recounting, I don't know,
Drama, maybe.
well, not trauma, but recounting just like things that are quite similar to other things. So I think it would just, yeah, I don't know, possibly one day, but we'll see.
Okay, lots of exciting things to come in the future. Last question. Tia, thanks for your time today. It's been really cool to have you as the first guest. What is one thing, and only one thing, I'm strict on this, that you wish people knew about cerebral palsy?
Um, that not all types of CP are the same, and just because one person has CP and moves and acts a certain way doesn't mean that everyone with CP is gonna act or move a certain way either.
I think a very similar thing for me. I think when people hear CP, they've got one image in their head, and they think maybe
Yeah.
it's that one person they've met. But like, I don't know about you, but no one I've met who's got CP is affected in exactly the same way.
Yeah, not in exactly the same way. Same with myself. I think obviously I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying it is the second most common childhood disability.
Oh, I thought it was the first. Oh, is it?
I think physical it's first. I think in general it's second.
Oh, okay.
Fact check me. This is for the edit.
Can we not win something? Like,
Yeah, we should all have individual trophies.
yeah.
Yeah. Present
But
for the trophy. Um,
but would you say treat people with CP as individuals and don't make
yeah,
assumptions?
I think don't blanket it just because you know someone with CP, and you meet another person with CP, don't assume that their access needs and needs in general are the same because they're not. I mean, for example, you need different support than I need, and I need different support than you need,
Yeah,
but we both have CP, so
definitely. Oh, it's been like having a catch up and chatting to you today. Thank you so much for your time. And tune in tomorrow where we'll have another episode. We're doing episodes like this every day in March. Tomorrow, my guest will be Sarah Edwards, who works for the disability charity Scope. So please tune in, download, subscribe, send me some nice comments, and if you've got any questions that you might be wondering you want us to answer on the podcast, that I could ask another one of my guests, let me know. But yeah, for now, it's goodbye from me and bye from Tia, and thank you for listening to the Palsy Podcast. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Palsy Podcast with me, Ciaran Fitzgerald. I want to thank my guests for joining me, and I hope that you'll stay tuned for the next episode and more throughout March. Thank you.